Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the June 17th meeting of the Village Municipal Planning Board. Tonight, after our normal administrative business, we have three applications to review and one advisory application. To begin, I'd like to look at the June 3rd meeting minutes. Were there any comments or additions on those? No. Could I get a motion to approve the June 3rd meeting minutes then?
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Next, do we have any updates from our village board and Ulster County Planning Board?
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for spending your evening in Village Hall. Yeah, nothing much to report other than from Ulster County Planning Board. There were nothing to noteworthy. The village continues discussions about consolidation. We heard from Peter Fairweather, who is a resident here in New Paltz. Probably I've heard of his name. He went through consolidation a number of years ago, offered his expertise on what had happened up until that point when he was working on it. I believe it was over 10 years ago. So we're still discussing that, but ultimately it comes down to, it's going to come down to the voters. So that's where we're at. It's going to come down possibly to the voters of both the village and the town at this point. Beyond that, there was discussions about the annexation of the property south of the campus for housing unit, mid-cost apartments. And that conversation continues.
Great.
Anything else? No, any questions?
We saw a lot of material that came from the town, I think combination of the town planning board and the town board. And it was the material that came following the station hearing. Is there anything to report on that, or is it too extensive to report?
It's probably too extensive.
Okay.
But I assume we can give you a summary if you want. Maybe.
No, I'm gonna watch the video.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, through the material for sure.
Yeah.
Just wondering. Consensus or takeaways, but
Right.
not that easy.
The public comment,
Yeah.
the written public comment closed yesterday at 5 p.m. And now both boards have 90 days under the statute to take a vote one way or the other.
In terms of, this is not a planning board vote, this is a village board.
Village board and town board.
In terms of procedural wise, are there things that the planning board is being asked to do in that 90-day period?
No, this is strictly the village and the town board agreeing to change the boundaries of the municipality by moving the parcel from the town to the village as was requested in the petition. They were required to have a joint public hearing, which they did. They closed it, they held it open for 10 days for written comment. And now they have 90 days to act. The planning board has no role in it. If in fact the annexation does happen, then the applicant will be coming back to us for the plan and special use.
Okay, thank you.
Do you know how quickly the annexation would take place after a positive vote with that occurs?
I believe it's, I don't know the answer, but I believe it's automatic. As soon as the vote happens, that is the process.
No state of New York filing.
Well, there must be a filing.
There must be a file, yeah, I'm sure there's some sort of filing time frame, but
Right.
yeah, that I don't know. I've never dealt with one before, so I don't know all the particulars.
Just curious about that. What do you think?
I don't know the specific rules. I would think it would be a small amount of time for the filing, but I wouldn't think it's.
It probably doesn't take effect, not just like a local law until it's filed with
That's right.
the Secretary of State, but I don't anticipate that there's a statutory time frame.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
But what happens, well, first of all, what happens if one or the other party says no?
The applicant, the petitioner, not applicant in this case, the petitioner's only recourse is to then file an Article 78.
Okay. So let's assume for a moment both parties say yes. But then the dissolution of the village happens
There's,
and we're going away.
well, dissolution's off the table at the moment, it's consolidation.
Okay,
So
so what?
Yeah.
if the dissolution happens, the village ceases to exist. So then that parcel, and as well as all the parcels in the village are in the town,
Okay,
as they are right now. They're all in the town, but they're also in the village. If the village ceases to exist by dissolution, it ceases to exist
okay.
at that moment.
I have a question.
So what happens?
Sorry.
So what happens? So now, if the applicant has come to us for various approvals,
Well, the only thing that comes to us so far is seeker, and that's completed.
okay,
So right now, they have no application in front of us yet. The seeker process was done. So if the annexation happens, they will have to make a new application to the planning board. If there is no village planning board, then they will make a new application to the town plan. And if an application is in process during the dissolution, that will be figured out. I'm sure there will be possibility of other applications that will happen too. And quite frankly, that would be part of the whole transition of the 2-year period of how the dissolution is initiated, or merger, whichever the case may be.
I would assume that the dissolution or merger would have some plan as to how the zoning districts from the village would then map onto the town.
correct. Well,
And that's part of
I
the,
heard a discussion of that
right,
at a meeting regarding dissolution. And my takeaway from that meeting was, no matter what the village plan was for dissolution, the town can reject it,
that's if the dissolution happens.
and they can go on their own.
Correct.
Now, I agree with you, and I'm looking at your house, I agree with you, that's what they said, and there was no argument. That it goes away, there's a plan, the plan is rejected, the town does what it wants.
That's why they're
That's actually
not
correct.
doing dissolution.
Okay, so now you're in consolidation. What, obviously, what happens if the town decides we don't want affordable housing?
The village doesn't exist, so it's the town's choice of how they move forward. So, but the questions you're asking are all good questions, but they're all very theoretical at this point, because that's what the 2-year period afterward resolves all that.
I agree, it's theoretical, I'm just responding to
Yeah,
the fellow who brought it up.
yeah,
Just-
no, but those are discussions that residents would have to have with the town board at the moment. So.
The one
It's
question,
such flux.
the one question is, you mentioned seekers concluded and it was done as a village planning board review. Would the determination of seeker hold and transfer to whatever planning entity gets the new application?
Yes, because the determination of seeker is on the project itself. It's not with the board, it's on the project, so it was done. The village planning board was the lead agency, seeker is completed now. It's the same as any approval that the village planning board would have done prior.
Thanks.
So, seeker is concluded. Unless there's, a large change to the application, in which case it could be reopened, but.
Thanks.
Mhm.
I have a question.
Yeah.
That's okay. This is about the annexation, correct? That they're going to be voting on it? And, this vote is gonna take place before or after the election?
After.
After. And so this would theoretically be 10 people who are voting, the town board plus the village board?
Each board is its own independent vote.
I see.
The town board, the 5 members of the town board are voting. The 5 members of the village board are voting independently of each other.
Mhm.
each board decides yes or no by majority vote that they will allow the annexation to occur.
Okay, and you have to get 2 yeses in order for it to happen.
In order for it to occur, you have to get both boards to say yes. If one board is yes and the other board is no. My understanding based on the law is that the only recourse is in Article 78, filed by the petitioner. That came from the village's attorney, so I'm assuming that it's accurate information. I didn't.
Well, I'm not sure it's exactly in Article 78, it's a
Okay.
petition to the Supreme Court, but it might be a slightly different, yeah.
Yeah, it was said to me as an Article 78, so that's why I stated that.
But yeah, essentially the same.
Yeah. So, and then however long that time frame would take, and then the court would decide whether to allow it to occur or not.
Okay,
To be continued, is about all we can say at this.
Once again, we're at the very beginning point.
Yep,
all right,
Thank you.
thanks. Are there any updates from the Environmental Policy Board?
There weren't enough people to make a quorum, so, we didn't meet.
Any updates from our Director of Planning, Zoning, Code Enforcement?
None tonight, thank you.
Okay. And any updates from the Town Planning Board to, I guess?
Yeah, I've checked their website, I'm not sure, there was an advertisement for a new planning and zoning secretary, I'm not sure if they filled that position or not, it still shows on their website. They did cancel their last meeting in May, and their first meeting in June. So I don't know when their next meeting is scheduled, but.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Moving on to our public comment section. Is there anyone here tonight that would like to make a public comment? Okay, and anyone online?
Double check, I believe everybody is from the. Appears to be.
Okay. In that case, I'd like to go to our first application tonight, PB 2509, 145 Chestnut.
Yeah, the applicant's, council is, zooming in.
Okay, hello,
Good evening, everybody.
good evening. Did you have a chance to read through the resolution of approval? And were there any questions or comments on that?
We read through the approval resolution. Everything looks great. I had just noted to Emily and to Mr. Baden that maybe we should reference the total unit count, which is 69, and I believe that was incorporated into the resolution.
Okay,
Yes, I did, correct, I did that.
did the board have, before we go through the specific conditions, did the board have any other questions or comments on it?
I have one. I mean, I was just curious as to whether the Army Corps of Engineers showed up or whether the 40 days elapsed.
This is for 145, the amendment, no.
Oh, the amendment.
So do you know the project that we're talking about? Yeah, not
This
the,
is the old adequate set. Not the 147, which is the one that's waiting for the Army Corps.
Oh, sorry.
so there were two specific conditions associated with this resolution of approval. Number one, all of the conditions of the previous approval for application PB 2302 are incorporated herein by reference and remain in full force. And number two, the potential need for a left turn ingress lane to the project's shared driveway with 147 North Chestnut shall be monitored. And if future improvements are requested by NYS DOT, the property owner shall work with the owner of 147 North Chestnut to implement such improvements. So if there's no objections, I'd like to get a motion to approve the amended site plan for 145 North Chestnut Street.
So moved.
Second, and could we have a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Rachel,
Aye.
Nikki,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
Terry,
Yes.
Zach.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have PB 2407, 147 to 149, 151. Hello.
Hi, good evening.
So last time, we went through the draft resolution approval, talked through, all the findings and the specific conditions. I guess at this point, is everything in this, resolution of approval look good to you? Or were there any, questions or changes that?
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Maximilian Mahalik, the law firm Fetty and Fader. We reviewed the draft and everything looks great. And we want to thank you for your time in preparing this.
Well, were there any for the members of the board who weren't here last meeting, were there any questions or concerns about the resolution approval?
Back to the board, just to clarify, we had asked about the bus stop at the last meeting. Both the applicant and myself separately spoke with UCAT. They do not actually, they operate totally on a flag and stop. If somebody wants to create a bus stop, you know, a area that is a bus stop, they have no issue with that, but they do not officially designate or recognize those stops. They still would, somebody would still have to flag them. So, specific condition number 5 addresses the resolve of how the applicant and Emily and myself came back with the language. So I just wanted to, I know that was a question from us.
That
I
was
see.
something that the Ulster County Planning Board had required that a bus stop be designated. So this is worded so that before the plans are signed, a bus stop is that what we did? That a bus stop would be identified and added.
But it's up
not
to
gonna
the
be-
applicant, it's not,
Yeah.
the DOT, excuse me, the UCAT doesn't need to approve it as we originally had stated. The applicant can pick a location that they believe to be sufficient.
And what that would most likely look like is a sign with information at one of the bump outs, most likely on the southern end. And then that sign, we have an example of that sign, and the sign would have the information. And then what's nice about that is it's a designated place where people can flag down the bus instead of standing in one of the parking spaces.
Okay, great. Were there any other notable changes from last meeting that we should?
I mean, there were quite a number of changes based on the board's review, but there wasn't anything that we weren't sure what to do or issues.
And you're still waiting for the DEC's wetland determination?
Yes, we are still waiting on that, but we've done all the outreach needed, and now we're just waiting for Albany, which is, well, the regional office in this case, but as we all know, Albany and its regional offices take some time.
It's a condition as well.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, and I know this may be seen as rather trivial, but I saw in the resolution that some of the requirements of the rooftop deck mirror the requirements Zero Place, which also has a rooftop deck. Zero Place also has a few affordable units. You may or may not be aware of that. I noticed in this resolution in front of us, it says that all tenants can use the rooftop deck. Is that your understanding, that all tenants can use it?
That is my understanding. I haven't had any conversation.
This isn't a guide.
No, understood.
I'm not trying to embarrass you or get you.
Yeah.
But we had a case in another project where the affordable tenants could not use the rooftop deck unless they paid additional rent. So this resolution says everybody can use it. I guess I would like to try and get it on the record that the affordable tenants would not have to pay additional rent to use the rooftop deck.
So case law separates land use controls from controlling the terms of leases with tenants, but we would stick with the condition here that is in the draft resolution that says use of the roof deck is for residential tenants, and that phrasing is inclusive of all residential tenants.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Well, given the number and length of these specific conditions, I'm not going to read them all individually. And also that we discussed them pretty thoroughly last meeting, but if there are no other questions and no other concerns from the board, I propose a motion to approve the subdivision special use permit and site plan for 147, 149, and 151 North Chestnut Street.
So moved.
Second, all in favor, or could we have another roll call vote, please?
Certainly. Rachel?
Aye.
Nikki?
Uh,
Rich? Aye. Terry?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye. Great, so we will have these signed and back to you shortly.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, staff, thank you so much. This has been a excellent process working with you guys. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and have a good night and stay dry. I know it's raining out there.
Perhaps we can speak later this week without steps, whenever it's convenient for you guys.
Great, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Next we have PB 24-15, 7 Prospect Street.
You have a copy?
Yes.
Okay.
How are we? Oh, we use the little chair.
Alright, we put that out here.
Okay. So when we last met, we talked about several things. And the major one, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, is to meet with the design review board. And they gave us, I believe, 14 specific recommendations on how to make it either more beautiful or hide it.
Yes, I guess, I mean, we can go through those. Can you explain how you changed the plan to?
Yeah.
Address those?
Well, there's a note on the plans that says we're going to adhere to this. So if and when it's approved, it's already buried on the plans in the site plan. There are certain call outs on different areas where it says, you know, replace the J channel where it meets the door.
I see.
That was a George Seabury comment. He wanted to make sure that you read the brick mold, the white brick mold, and that we had a 2.5-inch clay colored J channel to be adjacent to that. They also recommended all the windows in the trim be exactly the same width of white trim around all the windows as is in the existing house. They asked us to realign some of the windows. So a good place to look at that is They wanted the door on the new addition on the south side, excuse me, on the north side. They wanted that door specifically aligned with that window. They didn't make any recommendation to do anything with this room. Mrs. Nash had commented that she didn't want it to be a transverse gable because it blocked out the sun. I related that to the board. You can ask for yourself if you like. And as we go through, some of the other things that they suggested, we incorporated, like all the screening. The level of lighting is very minimal. It's just basically safety lighting for people to go to and from their cars. It's motion detected,
Trees on 5 Prospect.
so some of the trees get planted up on number 5 above the retaining wall, and that's why they look like they're floating. And there are other trees that are not shown that are pre-existing, and I tried to capture that with this one big tree, but there's a beautiful catalpa tree, there's a spruce tree, there's a maple tree. And I took pictures, but it's not really delving into. On another
There
elevation,
was also, as long as you're on here, there were also comments about, there were 2 comments, points 7 and 8 about the alignment of the windows, that the DRB made from the north elevation and the south elevation.
okay, so on this elevation, on the north elevation, they asked me to center these 2 windows, and we did that.
Yeah.
And there's a note that says that.
Okay, great.
On the south elevation, note 8 says, that we have to move one window over a couple of feet, basically to align it with the window that's below. That will ultimately be screened and no one will ever know if it lines up or not. It's the only one I had a problem with. Because they all, the rest of them are fine.
Can
They're all good
you
comments.
point that one out?
That's on the new addition. On the addition, second floor, it's this window. You see how it's off a little bit?
Right.
They wanted this edge to line up with that edge.
Okay.
We have the arborvitae planted in front of it.
We will. There are 4 now on the driveway up that leads between 3 and 5 Prospect. And then this is another 10. Which would effectively screen it. And you have to bear in mind, there's a retaining wall there and you actually can't see all of that because there's a drop off. There's like a 3-foot drop off. So.
These would be.
And this is the architectural review board note that ties it to this site plan. With the date. But the other thing that was requested of us was a grading and drainage plan. And so I went out there and surveyed it with Sam. I made him my rod man. And Mrs. Nash came out to ask us what we were doing and tried to explain it to her. And so we generated some contours.
Right.
And you have the brown lines are the existing contours, the dashed lines, and the blue lines are the proposed. Nothing really changes. If you look at this and analyze it from a pre and post project determination, you'd say there's more runoff created by this project than was before, and the answer is no. Plus, the roof drainage gets piped underground and goes out to the west, so it minimizes anything that would flow across the driveway and into that depressed area between number 7 and number 11. They generally leaked out by the fire hydrant.
The board had referred the drainage plan to its engineer, I believe, is that still?
We haven't yet, we just got.
Right, so we haven't,
will
we
be
don't have that
referring
feedback yet,
this.
yeah.
Yeah. And then did you also include some floor plans in this
Yeah.
submission?
Yeah, and I think the reason last meeting was just to have a final floor plan layout that the board could say, yep, that's 5 bedrooms. And the building department would have that as well as this DRB list as their checklist. And I think that addressed that.
I also meant to, yes, count that there was 5 bedrooms and also to denote that space that was past the bedroom that will no longer be a bedroom.
Right, that's here. The laundry.
Right. Oh, looks like it adequately addresses the DRB recommendations. Don't see anything that is missing here. I guess, well, first of all, could I get a motion to refer the grading plan to our village engineer to get his feedback on it?
So move. Second.
Yeah, you actually already did, we just didn't have it to send.
Oh, okay.
You don't need to, unless you want to do it.
No, that's,
Hurry,
I withdraw the motion.
great. So that will send that this week and, I guess this, the next step would be to set the public hearing for this, correct? We need a new public hearing.
Yeah.
To go forward, so, yeah, I'd like to get a motion to set the public hearing for our next meeting, first meeting of July, which is, does anybody know?
July 1st.
July 1st, yes.
Yeah.
So can I get a motion to set the public hearing for PB 2415 for July 1st?
So
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
This is for Mike. If they need my, near Laris needs my CAD drawing, I'll send it to them. I'll
Okay,
send you the CAD file so they don't have to
okay.
reinvent it at everyone's expense.
If you want to just send that, unless it's extremely large, I can forward that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, and these, okay, yeah, these are the new overbought. Great, yeah.
And the 9 trees along the back line parking, those are spruce. That was one of the things they approved. I actually had extra trees in there that we didn't talk about. And then the
And then are there
recommendation,
existing trees back here?
no, that's a cliff.
That's a-
There were more trees out front that didn't show because it clutters up our line work and the bearings and distances.
Yeah, yeah, understood.
And the recommendation was we have a landscaping plan, so. That was one of the last comments on that letter. And. This just kind of shows what's paved and what isn't. It doesn't really change much from the site plan, but. Someone wanted to scribble on it tonight, we could talk about it. It just shows what's paved and what isn't paved, plus the trees.
Yeah. That gravel is going to be specifically non-permeable, so it won't get compacted down.
No, it'll be open graded, so it drains.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I don't think we have any other comments. Tonight.
Thank you very much.
See you on July 1st.
Thank you.
And I'll send you the. Probably by, yeah, by Friday, because Thursday's a holiday.
Well,
Thank you very much.
thank you in my office. We're working. Thank you.
Moving on, we have PD 25-12, 222 Main Street.
Thank you.
Is anyone from 222 Main Street online?
No. I emailed them the agenda and didn't hear back, so.
Interesting.
Now I'm questioning if I did it.
Ooh.
Well, we can hold it until next meeting.
Yeah, it's, the applicant's not here to present this.
Yeah,
Not
we should be.
comfortable moving forward, so. Yeah, we will talk to him. July 1st. So lastly, we have, I guess there's no number, 5 Broadhead Avenue.
Yeah, there's no number because it's not a planning board application. It's an advisory.
Good evening, Dave Toder, Boulder Architecture. And so this is the Black History and Cultural Museum, hosted by Todd Broadhead. And had a very good meeting last week with the Design Review Board, or I guess it was the HPC in this case, but same difference, technically. And I made those edits already, which you have as updates. It was all good input, so I'll just got added to the zone adjustment. And
Can I interrupt you for a second, David?
yeah,
Mike, the 5 Broadhead comes up as a restricted project and doesn't.
Is it still?
Yeah.
I gave all of you guys permission. I'm not understanding why, because I gave all the planning board members permission to see that file. I
Yeah.
want
You
to,
can see it either.
yeah, Dave, I can share it on the screen, but do you have?
I do not have large
Okay.
copies, so
Let
this is.
me
this one-
share it on the screen, and I then have to figure out why, because I've given you all of these permission.
It's in the Village of Blue Paltz section rather than being or.
Yes, not in the planning board rather than try the link, maybe just
So, like,
go to the
building
Unicolab building department. You might be able to.
I only have 2 projects under building department, Woodland Pond and 145. So,
It's still telling me I need to
but you
authenticate.
can look at the, the small versions.
Yes, I mean, to some extent, there's the site plan. It's a postage stamp. It's just,
Right.
it's about 10 foot wider, 10 foot around the building, plus a little bit. So, there's not a lot of room left, for too much. And so some of the site plan items that are not already included, I wanted to talk with you about them. For example, like the dumpster enclosure, I was thinking of potentially for residential sized and screening to match on the side of the building, we're really space limited. So that was one of the accommodations that I wanted to discuss with you, feasibility, whether it's sufficient. And then also the potential to strike out about 3 parking spaces on the road. And whether that was, in line with what you'd like to see for the project.
Oh, sure, you're not adding any pavement at all, you're just putting stripes on the road that's already there in front of it.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's the idea, or, potentially, it might extend paving, beyond where it is currently, but there seems to be room. But, yeah, it would be, what there's room for. There seems to be room for on-street parking,
yeah,
in a formalized way or semi-formalized way.
yeah, well, you're right by the Stewarts there, so your dumpster would be between you and the Stewarts.
No, I think it'd be to the side where that, side porch is and which is now an addition. You can have, here's the building plan. As well, but so just to say, the site plan, the first sheet of, that I gave you there, that's current. The rest of the building design was kind of updated. Those are my notes, from the HPC meeting.
So you're gonna replace the porch that's already there, you're gonna take it down and replace it, there's kind of a
The
little.
side porch, the
side-
one that's very damaged and decrepit and
Yes.
hazardous, not the front porch. We're going to, modify that. We're gonna keep the roof and is in good shape, and the columns are certainly quite old, if not original. And they're fine, they're a little rotted at the bottom, one of them had kind of fallen over, but we need to, raise the deck in order for handicap accessibility. It's about 4 inches below. And so I think we'll be able to reuse those 4 columns. We'll do a new deck so that it's strong enough for the loads we need and at the right height. And we'll incorporate with the new handicap ramp. And then the extension of the deck and the roof line around the side towards 32. Here's the other thing. These are the 2 renderings that were done of the building. There's another site plan. Keep digging into here, we might find it for everybody to have in the site plan. Yeah, There's a small existing and.
Typically, like Stewart's is right behind it, right?
Right, so this was carved out from Stewart's because the village asked them to save the building. They're like,
Yeah.
okay, we'll give it to you for free or $1 or something. And
David, I believe I have it here. Which file is it that you're sharing? The one
either
that-
the letter size or the 36 by 24, the most recent, the 612. So let's go with the full size. That's the easiest one to look at on the screen. And we've got enough small versions here, I'd say. So let's go to the page that has a site plan, at least for I think, unless you'd like to look at how the building is being modified first.
Can we just back it up a little bit
Yes.
and tell me what your proposed use is for the building?
Sure. Sorry for cutting.
No, I may have
cutting-
missed something. I apologize if I missed it.
No, let me introduce the project a little better. So. The building is proposed to be a museum and cultural center. And it is a historic building and it would, so we are looking to utilize it as, so we're gonna make some modifications that kind of celebrate and the architecture and some that really just expand the square footage so we have more usage. So I guess that means we should be looking at the floor plans first, just so we can see everything. Can you go to the first page of that so we can see existing and proposed? Yes, that. And can you zoom out so we can see?
And the other piece of context, Terry, is that this is just
The whole page,
exempt
if possible.
from
I'd like to see the
planning
entire
board, yeah,
page there.
site plan.
Yeah,
So zoom
I'm
back.
not gonna be able to, zoom out and show the whole page. so-
Yes, like that, sort of. Good.
Historical significance is one of the most prominent Black families historically, the Olivers. Olivers, called the Oliver House.
Yeah,
That-
Ann Oliver.
Ann Oliver.
That's right.
And
And Wincoop is the name of the builder. And so it was some of the first free Black property owners
that's, yeah, that's.
in the area. And so there are a number of historic themes running through there in terms of the value of the house. But so the side porch existing. So there's existing first floor plan there and then the proposed. So we're gonna open it up on the first floor so that it can be a display space. And we're going to be keeping the kitchen, adding a handicap bathroom. And because it's a cultural center. And so the kitchen, is an important part of being able to host events there. There's an expanded deck and porch on the Route 32 side for events, and Stewart's has been very generous with allowing that whole open lot to be utilized. I think they have a picnic bench on there, and so even though the lot is small, the usage area is a little more generous, which is terrific. And then so the addition on the side is a study room on the first floor, and then it's a visiting professor office upstairs. There's also another office and a 3/4 bath, some storage space on the second floor. Again, it's opened up a bit, and in fact, we're going to have a double height space at the roadside. You can see where it says the open office and exhibit space. And then there'll be a bit of a like attic level, there'll be for storage in the back. One of the things we're doing, and so that's the interior. Then in terms of the exterior, there's an attic window. It's square or rectangular. I mean, one of the typical details of the Wincoop houses, there's one right next to it, is that it has a pointed top to the attic window. So we're actually rebuilding that to make it like that. And we're gonna add one on the Stewart side, the back side, which isn't there at all. Because, and we'll have explanatory, in the museum itself, there'll be explanations of any of these, departures or inventions, they're for a cause. And they're all, we talked about all this with the HPC to confirm that, this theory of, architectural reuse was okay with them and, had legs. And they were on board with everything and had you know, some good examples. So, George Cipher said, my house has an operable. I thought it was a fixed glass, a lot of the grills, meaning, the ventilation. But he said, it's an operable double hung. Okay, so that's what the new drawings, spirit drawings show is operable double hungs, so that we're, historically accurate in that fashion, at least, recreating it. So, you know, we're extending the, porch roof. It will be similar, the style of the addition, to the side there with the study, that will also be the same style. And that should just make it look like a uniform whole, as opposed to trying to do something different. It's so small, you can't really do different and make it look good, I think. And certainly the renderings they look great. So let's see, what else? We'll be doing at the front porch that will have mahogany tongue and groove 1x4, you know, solid decking pitch, as is, you know, as a historic standard. Whereas we'll have level like 5/4 by 6 cedar decking at the other, probably the ramp and at the deck extension. And similarly, we'll try and match the like new porch columns to the old ones, but they won't be exact, and that's okay. You know, they'll be turned, but they won't be quite the same profile, because I think those are at least 1940s or earlier. So maybe it's the second porch or something, you know, it's not the original porch.
Well, they have a lot of carpenter bees and yellow jackets. I mean, just be careful.
Yeah, there were a number of hazards. I was careful.
Well,
Nobody went
carpenter
in
bees
that.
aren't dangerous, but they do bore holes in the wood.
Yes, and on the interior, we'll be taking out all the lath and plaster so that we can insulate the approved new windows. Similar in profile, but then they can be, you know, energy efficient, great for, you know, something that we can climate control. And it's an easy.
One question, David,
Yes, please.
when you describe the pitched porch, what does that refer to? There's literally a.
Yeah, it's because it's solid, and you've seen them, you've walked on them. So the way they do it, the framing and anyway, the tongue groove goes with the pitch, meaning front to back. And it's just an 1/8 inch to a 1/4 inch per foot pitch, to allow water to go out. They always rot at the edge, and that has to be replaced in some form. That's the historical way. And the framing goes the other way in a way to allow the pitch, not the pitch.
So is the cedar porch that's not gonna be pitched, is that a superior construction? So we're doing it historically accurate versus superior construction, or is it just a cost issue?
It's, well, no, actually, it's a weathering issue, I suppose. So you definitely have to have a tongue and groove covered by a roof. But we have other deck areas that are not going to be covered by a roof, or some on the side, some will be covered by a roof and some will not. So we can't do the exact thing. And also the pitch becomes more of an issue on a longer thing and going around corners.
Does that help you?
Oh, that's fine. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Anyway, we can resolve, since it's wood, we can actually sand a little bit of the edges where there's at the 2 intersections. It will be a 1/4 inch or less on, you know, differential. Anyway, I believe that that's the best way to solve it, because we just have with material limitations.
On this drawing, it looks like it's going to be a metal roof, whereas this looks like an asphalt roof.
Haha. That's a good point. It's currently a metal roof and it will remain a metal roof. So that's a good point.
Is the roof
rendering
being replaced? I assume.
I believe that the current one is refurbishable, meaning, you know, patch and paint. It doesn't, I don't see any, you know, failures in it. The thing that's, needs to be improved is currently Yankee gutters, which, you know, are kind of a building hazard. In any case, that would be the one area where we certainly need to do some work, maintenance or flashing over them. That's what I'd like to do. Was the one item that we did not discuss, but I mentioned it to Tom after the fact. We just got lost. But my proposal is actually to flash over the Yankee gutters. You still have the typical kind of whoop-de-doo, flat part visually, but then you'd add, you know, standard gutters outside that. And some of that, again, it's just a weathering. The Yankee gutters are such a maintenance and durability nightmare that you know, in line with putting in real windows that you can operate instead of, you know, lead line, single pane things. At least I believe the HPC will agree that that's reasonable. Because you can still see it, it will look a little different because it'll also have the,
Yeah.
you know, regular gutter on the outside.
Will there be a spigot outside to water the garden?
There will definitely be at least one hose bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe that's on the plan,
Good. Right now it's being watered from Stewart's, just so you know.
but right, no services
Right,
available
does it?
currently.
Is there a plan for parking? Did you mention that?
Well, there's not really a lot of room for parking. It almost looks on the site plan like you get one parking space in there, one. But the question is, you know, where it is and how it is that actually good? You know, it almost means you can't do the on-street parking right there. This seems, doing on-street parking seems like it will be something you guys would think is better, but that's why it's kind of open, so that you can be advisory on exactly these things that you have a little more expertise.
Well, you say the property does not have room for any parking lots on the premise, right?
Pretty much, and there's a site plan, yeah, look at it, really, you see what I'm referring to as the possible parking space, you know.
And I would guess that in the use code, the use of this space being a cultural or museum or cultural center must have some assumption on per square footage what the parking recommendation would be. And if that can be met with parking on North Chestnut, which is often available, wouldn't that be sufficient recommendation? I know we're not being asked to approve, but my recommendation would be, let's refer to the code, let's see what square footage of this use recommends or requires, and then do that 1,000-foot radius to see if there's an argument that street parking will be adequate. And if not, you'd have to kind of give some thought in terms of the operating plan. For instance, if there were an opening or a special, a talk or some other like group meeting.
Right, like
You would have
a
to-
drumming circle and then a parade down
You know,
to
right,
Huguenot
so
Street.
you're
like that, isn't
expecting
it?
25 guests, for example, I didn't know about that. You know, then maybe there needs to be some kind of an operating plan for where 25 guests park when they come to the center. I don't know where that would be, but
But these parking spaces on Broadhead that you're proposing don't currently exist, so.
That's right.
That's,
they're not lined.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
You could put your car there though.
oh,
You could, there's.
That's right.
That's.
You can park there.
rarely-
It's legit.
okay,
Yeah, that would
Informal.
actually, the village board would have to designate that as parking area. They could limit it only to the use of at the museum,
Hmm.
so they don't get taken up by other people.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I would recommend starting with whatever the recommendation, the required parking is for a use like this of this scale. And it might be an easy answer. It might be it's 4 spaces, and then you could argue that that could be done, that could be accounted for within a combination of Front Street and North Manheim or. Yeah.
Or maybe there could be shared parking with another facility nearby.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing about maybe some kind of operating plan that says when we anticipate more than X visitors, we would have a relationship with X to put additional vehicles there.
Zero Place comes to mind. I don't know if how much excess parking they have or don't have.
Well, I mean, Huguenot Street has a parking lot, yeah, right down Broadhead.
Sure.
Across the Jewish Community Center.
Yeah,
True.
Got,
yes.
there's a number of facilities nearby.
Yeah, that lot's almost always empty.
Very good.
overall, I think looks like a good plan though, looks like it'll be a massive improvement to what's currently sitting there.
Is there entering the intended color scheme too?
It's not.
No.
That was a friend architect, put that together so that we could see what it looks like in 3D. And, that's intended as in a way, a tabula rasa, so you can see the form of the building. But one of the things we discussed at the HPC was historic colors. I'd like to see like a 3-color scheme of something fun. So that would be in consultation. And that's one of the notes on the plan is other elements included, and specifically paint color would be, worked out with HPC in consultation with the, users or village.
Great.
Yeah.
David, do you happen to know off the top of your head, or maybe it's on the plan easily, how many square feet of gross floor area?
Yes, it is on the plan. Even the first floor plan near the bottom has the square footage.
Total.
There you go.
780, second floor, 780.
15.
So with the code, a cultural facility is one space for every 800 square feet. So. So it'll be 2 spaces.
That's what I'm saying, like,
Right.
really the question is, when you hold events, it's not about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's more of the operating plan. you're saying.
I think, like, for example, your materials might say, when attending an event, we recommend parking at X.
Yeah.
Just to kind of direct people to make it user friendly, but also to make it village friendly. Where people
Right.
aren't driving in circles looking for parking when there's an agreement that you might have a lot with.
And then coordination with those places, like.
Yeah,
if-
Right.
People are going to try and park in storage and they're not going to be happy.
No, they don't want.
No.
You don't want people to.
Those, they don't want.
They do.
Yeah, we do a lot of.
A lot of traffic there. Great, that's terrific, parking answers.
Memorial pool closes at 6 p.m. With the big parking lot.
Oh,
That's already municipal owned.
Yep.
So you wouldn't need an agreement.
Hmm,
That would be the only thing, if we go with a private business or entity like the Jewish Center, that there would need to be just a shared agreement to make sure that liability and insurance are covered.
right. Yeah, is the Huguenot parking lot is Huguenot Streets.
It's Huguenot Historical Society.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
that's
quite the same.
private as well.
That's right.
The pool
Yeah,
would be safe.
Memorial Pools.
Yeah,
A lot of seasons. Is that cleared in the winter?
yeah.
Well, kind of.
Well, they make a big pile, but they do clear it because they use it for, I don't know, they have people parking their vehicles. They're not parking, but I think they eat lunch in their trucks there. I don't know.
Beautiful place.
I go there a lot because my dog's like, "You lunch in your car there?" I don't know if I want it. They took down that bridge, between.
So I had some notes on that site plan there in blue about other things to discuss with you.
There you
The
go.
dumpster enclosure.
There you go, thank you. Yeah, so, dumpster enclosure, that's a big element, and I don't really want to put one anywhere. So, can we avoid a dumpster enclosure, do you think, reasonably?
Is the
Like, have it-
dumpster required?
can we avoid a dumpster?
Yeah.
Why, I don't know, I figured as a commercial, some of these things I want to talk to you about. Of course.
As this is a municipal property,
Yeah.
the zoning code does not pertain, which is why it's not in front of this board for a full site plan review.
Yeah.
So certainly it would be the village I understand it correctly that the two, village and the town are doing this project together, is that correct? To some degree? So ultimately,
Because that is on the town board.
their choice, if it's, yeah. But the property is owned by the village, and I think Bill could maybe, sorry to put you on the spot, is it gonna continue to be owned by the village?
For the time being,
Yeah,
Through construction.
there's some,
essentially stewards of the property.
yeah, so essentially,
It may be
no
transferred.
requirement that you have a dumpster. As long as there's some mechanism for trash being dealt with.
Okay, so,
It
I
doesn't
wouldn't anticipate.
feel like it's of the scale where it needs a dumpster. You could
Yeah.
probably get away with a couple
Yeah.
totes.
Yeah.
Right, and maybe give it an enclosure,
Yeah,
that's nice, to look better with an enclosure.
Yeah.
The residential scale.
Right, and I'm thinking just along the back of that addition, you know, that's the most back we have, I don't wanna put on the Stewart side, really. Yeah, great.
There's sprinklers required?
Or sprinklers required.
I'll have to check with Alex, but I don't believe so because of the date of the building. But I will double check.
And then any other safety installations that might be certainly not historically compatible but necessary? Like flashing lights or,
Well, I saw somewhere that you were gonna have some heat pumps, is that? Oh, no, that was on.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have like emergency lighting,
Right.
you'll have all new electrical
it'll have to
and
have
HVAC and plumbing, and you'll have all new everything.
emergency lighting, something.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
have to go
absolutely.
through commercial
And I'll check
assembly.
on the sprinkler, I mean, usually that's the usage and the size of the building, certainly it's small, but it might, because it's assembly. You know, at a cultural center museum, that's assembly, which is, anyway. I'll, make sure.
You probably just want to give Alex a call or email to inquire about that, and he can determine whether it is or isn't.
All
I
right,
don't want to guess on that one, that I'll defer to him.
right, no, I mean, I still have to get a building permit after all that, or at least, I believe.
Yes.
I suppose that could be waived, but.
That you still will need to get.
Yeah, very good. Bicycle parking, it might be nice to have a rack somewhere,
For sure.
and,
Yeah.
so I'll do the
Small
count.
decorative one. Cast iron or something like that.
Yeah, I think as long as it doesn't need to be like right in front of the porch blocking the.
Probably on the side by the ramp,
facade, But yeah,
you know,
It's a local fabricator who's made some pretty cool design.
Who?
racks. Craig Shankles,
yeah.
I've seen them somewhere, but it wouldn't be historic, but they would be local and attractive.
Street furniture and waste receptacles. Wasn't sure about having a trash can, that almost seemed to attract, but I know Zero Place has some trash cans, but it's different scale of usage, so.
Well,
Scales, they also.
Yeah.
I comply with the ordinance.
Right.
Yeah, I wouldn't think you'd need to have a permanent trash collection outside.
I think it's a
I mean,
maintenance nightmare.
Okay, and so not really any street furniture required either, again, scale of project that have like a picnic bench on the steward's property, but. Okay, very good. And then exterior lighting and landscaping, you know, certainly watering flowers, in terms of landscaping, lighting, I was, you know, we're at porch lights and there'd be some motion detector downward facing. You know, again, kind of residential scale, I don't, we're not gonna light up, you know, we have so little property.
yeah.
So that's what I was imagining doing, and it would basically be just these sides of the building where you've occupancy, the ramp, the front porch, and the Route 32 porch deck. And there's basically this porch right there, so it would be that type of lighting, you know, very minimal and all down lighting.
So you don't have the property between the house and the street is mostly still belongs to Stewart's?
Yeah.
That's right. You can see it. There's one large scale site plan sheet. I think it's underneath that one. So does that show the whole property? I thought it might. I forget what I showed.
Because it's
Okay.
it's a pretty big lawn. actually.
It seems in the parcel viewer,
Oh, there you go. Thank you.
oh yeah, maybe that's better. Yeah, I mean,
Stewart's property.
I would encourage
Oh, wow.
some landscaping
So
around the
plantings.
house and some planting to sort of
Oh, wow, I didn't.
separate it, give it some boundary from that grass on the corner that Stewart's has.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, I just think it would,
I have it up on the screen now, which shows where the parcel is in comparison to, the storage property.
It looks like it's shifted a bit, you know, 32.
Yeah,
is the property.
it's about a 50-foot line shift because it comes from two different sources.
Can you scroll it up a little, cause the text boxes.
Yeah, some landscaping right at the edge of the deck, for example. We were talking about that,
yeah. and-
though that's right on the property line. I don't think that mine, but you know, there's not really a lot of room.
Well, they water that whole lawn area there
Mm.
whenever it's dry. But they don't water the planter, which I now realize is on their property.
Maintenance, yeah, there's no, when it's more occupied, presumably there'll be better care of plantings.
Well, this is just a metal planter
Yeah.
that my friend Rose put there and she waters it, but there hasn't been any need this year. It's been raining.
There's a little box on the post, kind of between the planter and the house. It looks like a little library. Is that, do you know what that is?
I don't,
This thing?
Oh, that's a fentanyl.
Yeah. Oh, it's a Narcan.
I saw
thing?
it.
Okay, I've read it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a bunch of those actually.
Thanks.
I haven't seen that. It must have been installed fairly recently.
Well, it's not, this is just Google Street View, so I don't know how
It's
recent it
In
is,
front
but
of the house there.
it's
Next to it.
next to the house. It's, yeah.
That's
I would say maybe.
unfortunate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that should be a bird feeder or something.
I'm sure it could be.
Put the drug thing closer to the Stewart's. Yeah.
It's right here.
Huh. What's the date on the street view?
Yeah,
Can you see that?
September 2023.
Well, all right.
There anymore.
We'll address it. I think it's not intersecting the porch, but.
The post could be moved, but
Yeah.
Yes. I agree.
Thank you.
Do you have any other questions or comments or, no, I think I covered the things I knew I wanted to talk with you, but you might see something I didn't.
You covered additional ones too. I'd be really excited to see the paint, the colors.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Oh, thank you. If I could have those back.
What color are you going to paint it?
I don't know. I don't even get involved with color selection. Thank you. That's very rarely in terms of all my design. It's just not something people ask of me typically. So,
That's something you want.
yeah, I have opinions, but.
Right now, just.
well, there's some bright pink across the street going on with that
Okay.
ice cream.
That is not one of my favorite colors. Unfortunately, it's not that historically accurate either.
It is a good ice cream shop.
Well, right. Yeah, it's something better than the current colors. Like, yeah, we'll see. Okay, and so do you have any other comments? I know the HPC is having a public input session, not a public hearing, it's something that mimics it. If you guys wanted to do that,
Sure.
you know, I'm happy to, and I'll do whatever updates I can to make it. You know,
We can just submit our comments to their, yeah,
Yeah, they're scheduling that for their July meeting, so we have our meeting on July 1st. So I could put that, you know, if any board members have any comments, I can put it on our agenda for July 1st, just as a quick discussion, if anybody had any comments.
yeah, I don't know if that's necessary right now, but if anything comes up, we can email about it.
And if any updates to the plans could be added to the mini collab and then.
Yeah, and I apologize, I'm
Okay.
gonna find out
Then we
why.
can always just follow.
Yeah, I
Coming
assume
about.
that you guys can all see it, but it's not all.
Okay. All right, thanks, Dave.
All right,
Thank you very much. Good luck.
Um,
Yeah, I didn't look at the current house, yeah. I don't want to sneeze near that house. The wall is falling down.
Could I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Sign, it's a sign.
Second, all in favor?
Great.